Hello and welcome back to Marine for TCG. My name is Joe. Drink of the day is Lipton Peach Iced Tea, and today Bandai has given us a whole bunch of reveals of a bunch of SRs and secrets for the OP15 leaders. And we're going to jump straight into it, which I think is potentially the most interesting of them, which is this Nami. 8/6 Straw Hat Crew Brick. On play, if your leader has the Straw Hat Crew type, play a 7 or less character with the Straw Hat Crew type from your trash. Then that character will gain Rush. So this is like a balanced version of Moria, I think, is what they're going for here. 8/6, far worse stat line than Moria. And it is lead a lot to Straw Hat Crew in both ways, so you are very, very restricted in what decks you can play this in, and what you can summon. And obviously this is intended for Brook. I'm actually going to remove my face. There we go. And the reason that this is going to be so important is this is another way to summon your big 7-cost Luffy. Obviously, with Brook, you are milling a lot of cards, so you could end up in situations where you just mill all these Luffys. Well, Nami gives you another way to bring this back, to give your leader that nice defensive buff, and he's also just a big rush character, right? You're going to be playing, realistically, by the time that you get to 8 on turn. This is going to be a 9k body. This may well also give your leader the defensive buff immediately. To get into play an 8/6 and then a 7/9 that also buffs your leader on defense seems really, really compelling. But this doesn't just have to summon Luffy. You can, of course, summon the 6-cost Brook that's been revealed for this leader before. Or you could even summon Pirate Docking 6, which we haven't actually talked about yet on the channel. So we'll talk about him, them now. Pirate Docking 6 is a 5/7, but it's actually an 11/7. You may trash 3 cards on top of your deck, and then you get to summon a 2 from your trash with the Straw Hat Crew type. And this is also Straw Hat Crew type. So, for example, you could go Nami into Pirate Docking 6, and then use Pirate Docking 6 to summon this Chopper. And then this Chopper can mill a bunch more cards, and then get you whatever you like back. This is an incredible searcher for the deck. The fact that you can activate this whenever you like, and you don't have to take one of the things that you milled. So if you use your Brook's leader effect, and you mill the Luffy, and you really want the Luffy in your hand for whatever reason. Well, if you have a Chopper on the board, or if you then play him out, you can just mill 3, and it doesn't matter whether you mill a Luffy in that search, because there's already one in the trash, so you can just grab it back with this Chopper, which is brilliant. And the fact this Pirate Docking can summon this is great. This is going to be almost certainly your best 5-don play. It goes hand neutral because you get the Chopper guy off. You get a bunch of mills to sort of push towards your closer with Brook's leader effect, and also just buff up the effects of this Luffy. And you could also summon this Zoro. This is like upgraded Koshiro, right? The student has become the master. 2/1 blocker. If your Straw Hat Crew type character be removed from the field by your opponent's effect, other than this character, you can trash this character instead. So if your opponent, I don't know, if they red rock your Luffy because they really want to get rid of it, you can go, nope, Zoro will trash instead. Giving you a bunch of protection. And I know Red Rock is going to be rotating by the time that we get these cards, but it's not for the East, and it's also just an example. This Zoro seems incredible for the deck. A chump blocker that gives your board pretty much deep protection against everything just feels really, really strong, and you can summon it back off Pirate Docking 6. So you can go Nami into Docking into Chopper, Nami into Docking into Zoro, Nami into Luffy, or even some of these other cards. We have the 2 older Luffys, the Dressrosa Luffys. Both of them sort of refill your trash. Giving Rush to this 7-cost Luffy, not going to be relevant for us in the West because he is rotating, right? He's OP04 card. But in the East, this will be legal. In the extended format, this will be legal. Extra format, whatever. And being able to restand him to essentially attack twice with Rush could be quite powerful. And he can even attack active characters. You can attack twice with Rush into active characters. It's kind of like how good he used to be in the Dressrosa decks with Corridor Colosseum. But it's going to be even easier to pull off because you don't need the Colosseum. This 6-cost Luffy is another option. He's alright. I just thought I'd put him here because I know some people will mention him otherwise. I don't think this card's that great though. Although giving him Rush, you do get to force your opponent to trash a card immediately. I don't know. It's okay. And the other 6-cost Luffy is slightly more compelling. It turns your Nami into a 4-don play. And you get Rush double attacks. You could just put those other 4-don on this Luffy and swing like 11k double attack, which is somewhat likely to go through if your opponent doesn't have a blocker, which seems quite cool. And if you are playing a removal deck like Black Luffy, typically sort of, he's been more aimed towards removal, but we finally have a searcher for that deck, which is nice. And you can also play Nami into this Robin. Nami will count as your 8 cost or higher character, so you can give your opponents, one of your opponent's guys, -10. You get the on play and the when attacking of this Robin all in one turn because she has rush, which is quite cool. If you had like a Jack on the board, I don't know, you play Jack on 7, your opponent plays their Whitebeard on 10, and then you can go, okay, Nami, summon Robin, minus the Whitebeard by 10 cost, and blow it up with Jack. I don't know how good that's actually going to be, but it's quite interesting to say the least. Also, in other decks, and these are probably some more rogue options, in BY Luffy, you could summon the Robin if you like. I'm not sure how good this is actually going to be in that deck, and we'll talk more about BY Luffy with another card later. But you could just go back to 3 off this Nami. It's okay. You still have the 2 Don to put on your leader once you're at 10, because she only costs 8. And then this Robin gains a rush. And your opponent doesn't really want to attack this Robin, right? Because they're on KO, so it's not too bad. And in Purple Black Luffy, you can summon Luffy Taro, which is pretty cool. You can go Nami into the Luffy Taro, and then use Luffy Taro to summon a Zorojuro, I don't know, a Sangoro, your usual Luffy Taro type targets. Even the Frankie blocker to then proc your leader effect could be something. And of course you can summon Beer Luffy. The Purple Black Luffy deck has, at least recently, been very focused around this card. So he becomes target number 1. So if your opponent does kill him, maybe you could use Nami to resummon him. And he even gets rush. But do note you can't use, you can use his effect twice. But it only buffs you to base 7k. So it's not going to buff you to 9k. I don't know if they thought about that or if that's a happy coincidence, but that would have been a pretty broken combo if you could go to 9k if this just said like plus 2k for the turn. Thankfully, it doesn't, but pretty cool for Purple Black Luffy. With the Chopper, Searcher as well, we're getting a quite nice trash package for this Black Straw Hat archetype they're going with. Next up, moving on to some Enel cards, we have 6/8 Enel. I can bring my face back now. Another 6/8 Enel. We've already had the SR 6/8 Enel. Well, this is the secret rare 6/8 Enel. They are different. They do have the same effect, where if you have 6 or less Don cards on your field, they can't be removed from your opponent's effects and gain plus 2000 power. So he's a 6/10. Pretty good. And then on play, Don -1, you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, add 1 card to your hand, any card, you don't have to show your opponent, and then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order and trash 1 from your hand. So you don't go hand neutral in this play. Because you get 1 back, but then you do have to trash 1 at the end. But being able to search for anything seems pretty powerful to me. And this deck is clearly going to have a lot of dig. All of those little 1 costs that we've had revealed all say draw 1. This says draw whatever you like from the top 5. And then this other card that we're going to move on to, Mamaragan. Mamaragan is a 0 cost event with the main effect of Don -2. Draw 1, then rest 1 of your opponent's characters with 5000 power or less. Resting a blocker for 0 Don and just a Don -2 feels pretty good, and you get a Don, and you could also just rest 1 of their characters and then attack into it, of course. The fact that this replaces itself, and because Enel ramps back 1,000,000 Don and only needs to go to 6 with his leader effect, this Don -2 isn't really a cost. This seems just like a free 4 of in the deck. You just have 4 free draw 1s, and also the counter effect is insane. Give 1 of your leader characters 1,000 for the battle, so it's a 1k. And then if you have 6 or less Don on your board, which you do, you draw 1. So it's a free 1k on counter, like literally free because you draw 1 back. Or on main, it can draw 1 and then rest. So you can either use it if you, with this main effect, if you need to rest a character. Or if you don't, well, you just use it as a counter effect and just cycle it out in your opponent's turn. This deck is going to be incredibly consistent. Like, the amount of draw this deck has is crazy. Every little 1-drop has Don -1, draw 1. The Enel searches anything. This event gives you even more cycle and free counter. I'm still unsure how powerful this deck's going to be, but it's going to be hella consistent, and these Enels being unremovable is quite interesting. Kind of scary. We'll see, we'll see. Power down, I think, is going to be pretty effective into this guy, right? Because they're only immune to removal by effects. They can be removed in battle. So decks like Kobe that are playing cards like Doll, or whilst OP15 is legal, any decks playing Round Table will likely be quite good at clearing these Enels, because, I mean, Raging Tiger sure as hell ain't. Anyway, moving on from the Enel cards. I think these have got me a little bit more excited for Enel, now that he has 2 of these 610s. But I'm still not convinced by this weenie package. I think it's going to be one where I need to sort of play with it, play a few games, and see how it feels. Outside of Enel, I'm not sure how good this card's going to be. Don -2 to draw 1 is a fairly steep cost. And there are decks, for example, like Purple Black Luffy, that get those Dons back immediately. But that deck kind of has a lot of Don -2 effects they want to use every turn anyway. I mean, smallest example, Beer Luffy. They want to be swinging with that Beer Luffy. So this Don -2 is going to be a cost. And resting a 5,000 power isn't that good. And the reason I say that I don't think this is going to be good in other decks is because this counter effect, yeah, you get a 1k, but most decks don't want to sit at 6 or less Don. Like, that's pretty bad. So you're not going to get the draw 1 outside of Enel most of the time. So I'm pretty mixed on this card outside of Enel. Maybe in some kind of red-purple deck you could consider it worth it, but I'm not convinced. I think this is going to be incredibly powerful in Enel for just giving you more cycle and free counter. But outside of Enel, I'm not so sold. Moving on to Monkey D. Luffy. We can leave my head there. That's maybe shrink him a little bit. There we go. So this is the other secret in the set. Watch it be Manga Luffy again and not Manga and oh, before we move on, shout out to this artwork. This is not an alt art. This is the base SR of this event. Absolutely insane. Anyway, this Luffy, yeah, he's the other secret, another secret Luffy, epic. 5/7 Sky Island Straw Hat. If you have 6 or more Don on the field, this character gains Rush. Brilliant. It's a 5/7 Rush. We've seen that 5/7 Rush Ace be reasonable in the past. And then when your opponent activates an event or blocker, reveal the top card of your life. That's reveal, not flip. So when you show your opponent, oh, look at this, it's a 10 cost Enel. And then you put it back face down. You don't flip it face up. This turn, this character has power plus X 1000, where X is equal to the cost of the reveal card. So, bit of a different wording to the Japanese, but this makes it very, very clear, right? Say you reveal this Robin. Your Luffy is going to go up by 7,000. So your Luffy is going to be 14,000. If this effect activates and you flip the top card of your life and it's a Robin. So my first thought is, can we stack the life? And I mean, there's all sorts of effects that stack the life. Cards like 2 cost Hiyori that you stack a card in your life. Anything that heals from hand, for example. But even at baseline, even if you're gambling, like, you just get a bunch of power. And this is not a once per turn effect. This is not a your turn effect. This is not a when attacking effect. This is just a static effect. So in your opponent's turn, if they play a Gamma Knife to reduce your Luffy by 5,000 power, and then you reveal your life and it's a 5 cost, nice Gamma Knife, you've just wasted it. Because you undo that in one fell swoop. If they play a Searcher event, they play, I don't know, some kind of Searcher event. When you're at sea, you can fight against pirates. You get to use this effect. And of course, when you attack with anything, and if your opponent activates a blocker on any of your swings, like you swing with something else, you swing with this Robin, say, you've got her on the board. And they're like, oh, I really want to block with my 8 cost Katakuri. Well, that's great, but now my Luffy is 17,000 power because I just flipped an Enel. Because why not? This is going to be ridiculously large sometimes, and it's going to give your opponent a really hard time deciding on whether or not they can use blockers and counter events, which is pretty cool. Obviously, in Yellow Luffy, this is incredibly sticky because that's his leader. This guy, you can protect him by just taking a bunch of lives, and then you can heal them back with other effects later. But I do think in other decks, this card is going to be quite weak to removal. There's all sorts of shit that hits 5s, right? Marcus Mars, a classic. Jozu. And yes, he can gain Rush, so you do get a little bit of value. But you're still not excited to have this guy hit by like a Jozu or a Mars. So I think outside of this Yellow Luffy, he will be significantly weaker just due to the removal aspect. But still an incredibly powerful card. And here are some of the other decks that you could consider playing this in. I think any yellow deck is maybe up for debate. But the ones that jumped out to me as potentially the most viable are the brothers. Because you can summon this for 2 with the 2 cost Luffy, of course. BY Luffy, this just seems like in all 3 of these, this just seems like a miles better version of this ace. Potentially might impact your consistency a little bit because it's a Luffy and there's already another couple of other good Luffys. We have the Egghead Luffy and we have, what's the other one? The Trash Luffy, the Luffy that trashes a life and draws a card. So you're going to be very reliant on seeing your 2-cost Luffys to summon all these Luffys out. But in BY Luffy, you can just summon a big rush guy, and if your opponent counters or blocks, well, he's just even bigger. In regular Ace, you could even swing in with this and then push it to life to protect it, and then just bring it out again next turn with the 2-cost Luffy. And because he has Rush, that's absolutely fine. And of course, you can also play this in Blue-Yellow Ace. I think Blue-Yellow Ace is the worst of these decks by far. But I think this is quite exciting for Black-Yellow Luffy mains to have a far more aggressive tool to potentially try and close out games. Although, again, he's going to be weak to removal in these decks. Yellow Luffy protecting this guy from all forms of removal seems like this is going to be the most natural hope. I think I actually forgot to mention it, but you can obviously play this off the Robin, which is brilliant. We got one more yellow card as well. 4-cost 6k Zoro, Sky Island Straw Hat Crew. On play, trash 1 card from your hand, heal from the top of your deck. Hello, Kikunojo. You've got competition finally in the 4-cost slot for a generic yellow card. This isn't leader locked. You can play this in anything. You get a heal straight away. This does not have Kikunojo's trigger, of course, and is much more vulnerable to battle because people sometimes might not want to activate Kikunojo's on KO. We've already got the heal, so people are going to have no trouble taking out this Zoro. But in the yellow Luffy deck, this is going to give you an extra life to be able to defend your characters with by taking that life. And realistically, I can see this being played in pretty much any yellow deck as an option. And this is going to give you a potentially pretty funny curve where you go, okay, 4 Don Zoro, I'm going to heal. 6 Don Kuma, I'm going to heal. 7 Don Robin, I'm going to heal. 10 Don Ace, I'm going to heal. Heal, 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 heal. This is the first 4 Don on-play heal I think we've had. Certainly the first one, like a really nice statted body. 4/6 is great. And here are 3 of the decks you could play this in. I think realistically this Zoro could see play in pretty much any yellow deck. It's just a 4 Don heal, right? That's a really good effect. But here are some of the more obvious ones. Calgara, it's a Sky Island card, so you can search it off all of your Sky Island searches, such as Upper Yard, Shura, and so on and so forth. Although Calgara is sort of eking more towards the Shandians, and this Zoro does have competition from cards like 5-cost Borsalino, which are a blocker and don't make you trash a card. So I don't think this Zoro is like a shoe-in decks, but it seems very, very good, especially as a 4-Don play. Yellow Luffy, this is probably the one where it is a shoe-in. It's Straw Hat searchable. It gives you another 4-Don play alongside the Sanji Searcher from the starter deck. Previous to this, you were very much just playing Kiku, because you had a good chance of her coming out as a trigger, and she's a slightly annoying body. But being able to play this Zoro and heal up to 7 sounds pretty funny. So I could see this scene playing Yellow Luffy. And in Red Yellow Bonnie, it's another option. I'm not sure on this one. We have already a few good early game plays, cards like the Lilith. And then on, because you do really like odds with this deck. You have the Borsalino, you have the 5-cost Nami from BO3. But this is another option. It's Straw Hat searchable, so you can find it with your 1 Don Bonnie. Even if it's not Egghead searchable, to be searchable off your Lilith. It's also searchable off Sanji. And then maybe you could play this and then a Borsalino towards the end of the game to heal a bunch of lives. I don't know. This seems just a generically good card. I think some people will freak out on this, seeing yet another heal. But you've got to remember this trash is a card. So this could potentially open you up to be quite weak to style strategies. I don't know. We'll just have to see. But this Zoro does seem pretty exciting. Next up, we got some Dressrosa stuff. Finally, support for Rebecca and Lucy. Rebecca, 101k, Dressrosa. Don X1, this character gains blocker. And then on play, look at the top 3, reveal a Dressrosa type card and add to your hand, bottom the rest. So to Searcher, that can become a blocker. Of course, you're going to be playing this in both Lucy and Rebecca. Both of these decks feel very based around the Dressrosa archetype. Rebecca needs this Searcher so that she can pick it up and then play out those 3 costs. Like Kyros, not much else. We're still lacking, I think, in the 3-cost department for Rebecca. I'm not particularly excited by this leader. I think this is still currently the weakest of the bunch, but we'll see. You never know. Maybe we'll get a crazy 3-cost. For Lucy, this can search all the Dressrosa cards. Again, we're missing a lot of the support for this deck, but it's great that it has a searcher that's also a blocker. And then finally, in Usopp, I think this is actually insane for Usopp, right? Because Usopp's second effect... Oh, I need to hide my face. Yeah, shout out this artwork as well. This is fire. But yeah, Usopp's second effect, when your Dressrosa character is KO'd, that includes in battle, you get to draw 1. So because this searcher becomes a blocker, you get to search with it, stick the Don on it, and then just block your opponent's swing. So it effectively goes +1 in hand, as opposed to neutral. Previously, Usopp was like, really quite happy to play out an Idio, the 2-2 chump blocker. And he was like, haha, I can block your swing and draw a card. I've lost no value. Well, this Rebecca's even better because it draws a card from the search and then becomes a blocker and draws a card from leader effect. So this seems insane for Usopp. Not sure how good the other support will be for Usopp, but I think this alone is quite exciting for him, just to give him more draw. We also got this Sabo, and this is Dressrosa, Rev Army. 7/9 brick blocker. On play, if your leader has the Dressrosa type, you can activate 1 Dressrosa type event from your hand. And that is just at any cost. It could be a 10 cost event. We don't have any, but it could be. I think we are still missing quite a lot of events in this set. Certainly in blue, we'll probably get at least 2, maybe 3 more. The Lucy deck, which I am going to be calling Sabo because I'm a fool. And I know it is Lucy, but I know I'm going to call it Sabo because it is Sabo, right? But yeah, that deck seems very focused around events, similar to the old Red Ace deck. So I think we're going to get more events to have more targets for this card. But this activating event, say it activates just this one new one that we have, the It's a Memento. You get to draw 1, trash 1, play a 4, and then you can use your leader effect to draw a card because you're activating an event. So off this combo, you'll get quite a nice bunch of cycle, and you'll get a 7 cost and a 4 cost. And the 7/9 is a massive blocker, so that seems quite compelling. In terms of other events, a lot of the old ones, like the black ones, they're all rotating. We do have Barry Pistol. You can bottom deck a 6,000 power unit. Not too bad. This has never seen play, as far as I'm aware. But being able to get rid of things like Marco is pretty decent. And of course, because Lucy is red, there is also the opportunity to maybe play out some kind of power reduction, and then play this Sabo, activate the Barry Pistol, and bottom deck something that's slightly bigger than 6,000. Although probably not that 5 cost 7,000 Luffy, because we're activating events, which is not a little concerning into that deck. I think this is obviously going to be one of the best payoffs for both the Rebecca deck and the Lucy, not Sabo, deck. But don't forget, you can also play this off the 7 cost Rebecca, although this is basically Usopp locked, because there has to be a cost 8 or greater character. I think some people forget that. Usopp makes this Rebecca an 8 cost, because of his inherent leader effect. We can skip back and I can show you that there. Oh. Yep, there you go. All of your Dressrosa characters with a cost of 2 or more gain +1. So this card is effectively leader locked without being. But this can play the Sabo and then activate not this because this is Lucy locked. But it could activate a Barry Pistol or one of the black events if you're playing in the extra regulation. Finally, we got Gin, a bit of Krieg support. 6/7 1k East Blue Krieg Pirates. On play if your leader has the East Blue type. So it's leader locked to Krieg at the minute. Play a 5 cost character. The best part about Krieg is this leader effect that reduces all the opponent's character's power. So whilst this can play non-East Blue characters, I think almost always this is going to play an East Blue character. It's curious that it says 5 because we don't really have any 5 cost East Blue characters just yet. There is the Django from set 3, but that's rotating before we get these cards in the West. And so far, the 2 targets for this that we've had revealed from the new set, and these are probably the best ones, are the Block of Pearl and the Arlong that can interact with a bunch of Dons to combo with your leader effect or the Big Rush Krieg. These are decent targets for sure, absolutely. And this is kind of power crept Luffy Taro. Loses a cost, loses 1,000 power, but does gain 1,000 counter. So probably slightly better overall than 7 cost Luffy Taro. And this sort of ties into a quite nice even curve that I think we've got going on here. We can do 4 Don, we can do Arlong, then use his activate main to put the Don on the leader that we need for the opponent's turn effect. 6 Don, you can play this Gin into whatever, and then on 8 Don, you can play that big Krieg. And because it's Arlong's every turn, your opponent's not really going to want to take him out. You get a Don on your leader every turn, even though you are playing on curve, which is pretty cool. We've also had the alt arts for the leaders revealed, and we're going back to the old sort of crew style. We last saw this in the anniversary box, the English 2nd anniversary, if I remember right. And those cards are very, very popular now, so I do expect this style, which was last seen in the main set in OP07, to end up being quite popular with people. I'm a big fan of these. You've got Krieg with all of the iconic Krieg pirates, like Kin and Pearl. I don't know any of these other fuckers in the back. Who the hell are these, man? I kind of liked Krieg in the show. He was kind of cool. But like, his crew are a bunch of wet noodles. We got this one for the Lucy leader. And it's got all of the Colosseum fighters, which I think is a really cool choice. Got Jesus Burgess, Bartolomeo, Rebecca, and Diamante. Definitely not Sabo's friends, but relevant for when Sabo was Lucy for that very short time in the Colosseum. Pretty cool. Brooke and Luffy, 2 Straw Hat leader, big gang alt-arts. These are going to be pricey, I think. Both of these look pretty decent leaders as well. I'm quite excited to try both of them. And both of these having, for their respective points in the show, the whole Straw Hat crew. I mean, you'll notice Jinbei obviously isn't on either of these. These are really nice ones, especially the Brooke. I really like this Brooke one. This looks so colourful, and I don't know, he looks so happy. I love all the music notes. Really big fan of this Brooke. He's probably my favourite of the 6. Let me know which is your favourite of the 6 in the comments. And then finally, we've got Enel and the priests. I do like this one as well. I think this looks kind of fire. All these priests are goofy. Shame there's no Holy, right? Holly, the big dog, Ohm's dog. Where's Holly? Anyway, yeah, you got Gadatsu, Shura, Satori, and Ohm in the background of this one. And then the Rebecca one, you've got Kiros, Viola, Violet, whatever her real name is, and King Rico Dildo. Whatever his name is. Riku Doldo, I think. Rick and Morty. Really nice alt arts. Big fan of this crew style. I think this is much more refined than the OP04 versions, because those all seemed a little bit dark, but like the Rebecca, the Luffy, the Brooke, they're all so bright and happy. These other 3 less so, but I think they've done a really good job of these. Let me know how you feel about the alt art leaders in the comments. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Let me know which of these cards do you think is the best. Are there any cool combos that are missed? I think I tried to cover most of the things that I could think of. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day.